The price of leadership is loneliness, and because you're always a few steps ahead of everyone paving the path for them, there's nobody there with you. But that the people who are willing to do that are the ones who can lead and build and scale and grow businesses. And that is the role that you would have to play at some stage. But that's also the role that allows you to plant the seeds that become trees and can give fruits to others and all of that stuff in the future, right? So let's get started with this lesson of Project Starlet, which focuses on not my memory. Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the start. It focuses on talent funnel, which is how do we source talent, then obviously closing that talent, and then we retaining them. So I'll cover about the hiring strategies, the script to use when conducting interviews, where to advertise, how to source them, how to get them to sign up, the best practices, team lessons, blah blah blah, all of those things, right? So let's get started. First thing is not delegating is becoming a bottleneck to the business. Like this is one of the most common things I see with a lot of business owners is that you knew if you did more, or there are tasks that or things that you could do that would allow you to make more money or grow the business or have the higher impact, whatever goal you have is. But you're trying to do everything on your own, right? And the thing is, besides optimizing your own time and attention and removing distractions, one of the other best things you could do is find the people who are really highly skilled for getting those same um, aspects and roles in the business done that you are doing yourself, right? And even if they're supporting you and even if they're providing some sort of help where they get you, they like bring that time back to you, which then allows you to focus on the things that are the highest leverage because there are some things only you could do. Um, that would allow you to have a much easier time, have a much stronger team, have better fulfillment, and have better experience for the customers, and then scale and bring your vision to life, right? Yet most businesses don't do this. I don't know why. The fear of hiring the wrong people might be one of the main concerns. Giving up control is another issue. Not knowing how to delegate is an issue. But the thing is, it's not that the issue is with the people you're hiring, it's that you don't know to hire. It's a skill deficiency. You don't know how to hire people while still maintaining control for whatever trust issues you may have. You are afraid that you would hire the wrong person because you don't know how to hire the right people, right? You are, whatever the aspects is, let's try to break all of those here so that when it comes to your fulfillment and when it becomes to the team, which will make or break your business, you have a really solid team that when you're spending most of your time with them, they make you better, you make them better, you better service your clients, and your purpose and your vision of the business grows, right? Okay, so let's get started. The thing is, when it comes to acquiring talent for whatever role you're trying to hire, personal trainers, coaches, bookkeepers, sales reps, marketing reps, whatever it is, the process is the same. You generate leads, so you generate applications, you advertise, you promote, or you get referrals or whatever the same systems we use when it comes to acquiring clients is applies here. You nurture those leads, you book in those people, you screen them for the ones that are better, you qualify them, you book them in for sessions. And then obviously the sales, which in this case is the interview where you find the quality candidates, you close them on working with your company, and then you retain them, you fulfill them, you showcase your leadership skills, the onboarding, everything else. And then the retention and promotion, which is ascension, is still the same process, right? So we're gonna get into that in a second, on how to actually execute this. Now let's start with lead generation. As I covered earlier, the process is the same. Paid ads is when you're starting out, probably one of the easiest things that I would recommend you just do. Um, because I learned this lesson the hard way myself. Now, obviously, if you, again, this varies from case to case, but I will tell you, like, I'll give you my experience to this, right? So, I used to very heavily rely on referrals and recommendations and affiliates for people that I wanted to hire. And the talent pool or the applications I was getting was not strong enough. And I didn't have enough contrast to see who is good or bad because I wasn't conducting interviews. Like a friend would recommend a person, or I'd literally ask my friend group and be like, do you know anybody who I can get who can work with me who might have a skill in this? And they would recommend somebody, and that person has like two other commitments, and I'd be like, well, let's start part-time and I'll get you to do full-time. And it was like a recipe for disaster. Later on, I started running paid ads and I realized that like you can source a lot of applicants. Especially at like and get your vision communicated effectively and target them the right way. So you are able to build the culture that you're after. Right, it's just like paid out, like everything are better at qualifying, but that just might be because it's my strength. If you have a really strong affiliate network or referral network, then you use that. Same goes for warm and cold outbound. This works because there's some roles that are higher end. For example, even with the base roles, like if you're hiring like this, some of you might not need to worry about this. But like if you're hiring a sales director, or if you're hiring a marketing director, or you're hiring a co-founder, or you're looking for somebody who is going to be an absolute killer, they might already have a job. Or they might already be unlocked if you already have a network of friends that are good and successful, right? So in that case, definitely warm and cold outreach and reaching out to them and giving them offers because they're not actively looking for jobs because they're not putting themselves out there, right? Like at a certain level, you find talent that is already taken or that is like they're already getting offers and you can approach them through those methods. And then finally, you have agencies. But I think for most of you that are starting out, or especially at this stage, or especially for the level, because the businesses that I'm working on or this team training and this program is mainly made for businesses to allow them to scale and not as advanced. I mean, it's still pretty advanced, but it's like there's still a lot of takeaways. But I haven't made this with the intention of you already having over 1,000 members in your gym, or you already having like 30, 40 employees and finding out what to do. Even then, there's still lessons here that are going to be helpful. But like, especially if you're somebody who's like at a medium level or a beginner level, um, paid ads would solve it really well, and you should already have funnels, ads, scripts, everything else back there. You can offer hack the applications. Like I used to just go to Indeed and look at like acquisition.com, which is Alex Hormozzi's company, and look at the way they were structuring their job offers. I just show that to you guys right now. I'm already sharing my screen, right? So let's open a new tab. Indeed, ACQ acquisition.com, Hormozy. Let's see if we can find jobs. And they're going to verify who I am. And this is like basic offer hacking. When you're running paid ads, the same strategy applies. When you're building job applications, obviously being clear about what is expected, the company's vision, who this is not for, who this is for, works well. But um, besides that, like the angles and the approaches and the frames you could use, the pace system applies here. You can go for the practical side, you can go for the reward side, you can go for the emotional side and run a bunch of them and see which one is working better. But at the same time, unlike ads that are more dependent on getting clients, this is more dependent on what you're after. But also don't be so stuck up that you're very inflexible because you need to meet people where they're at and they might not see your vision yet. Um, and also, the platform doesn't understand your vision yet. So, if you're able to drive more traffic, by default, you'll find people who fit your criteria as opposed to you not getting those results anyways, right? Um, Again, let's pick anybody. Let's pick sales development representative and look at the application. They start with their mission. Our mission is to make real-world business education available to everyone. Super clear. We don't just hire for open roles. I think this is ChatGPT generated. Sure, we hire for impact. You're exceptional at what you do, align with our core values, competitive greatness, sincere candor, and yes, I'll cover this later. Have core values. Role. We're looking for all of these things. Register to operate in these cities. As a sales development representative, you'll be responsible for setting appointments. What the role is, you cover all of those things. And these will be your key responsibilities. Here are your expectations. Here's what we offer to you in return. Trainings, exclusive internal, yeah, responsibilities, everything else, results that we expect from you to deliver, requirements, self-sufficient, the location, days, hours, benefits, things like that. You can absolutely model your own um, ads, job scripts, and everything. Even on paid ads, you could take the same application and run it over there, right? Or you can take people to a funnel or a landing page and have that cover that system and process. But regardless, you don't need to be too extreme with this anyways. Um, and you know why I'm so pumped about this method because I have tried everything else and this just worked well, better for me. And because I was the one who was able to control and tweak the people I was after. But regardless, so I'm gonna show you guys something here, which is um the other thing, and especially when you guys are starting out. What's the next slide? Is it this one? Overseas team is an ultra high leverage strategy. So many of you who can't hire full employees yet, even if you can hire, I would highly recommend you outsource talent. Not because of any like, it's because they're also human beings. And you can get people who are specialists for like a fraction of the cost. And also, on the other hand, this might seem unethical a bit, but especially in third world countries, you don't have to get them to sign like long-term contracts, and you're not liable legally for if they're not performing as well. It's very easy for you to get them out of the team as opposed to all the complicated process you have to go through if you hire somebody in a and most of these guys can still deliver on the same roles. Obviously, you also prioritize locals. Like at the end of the day, it depends on talent. That's the principle, right? And if you're getting better talent overseas, then go with that because if they can deliver a better service for your clients. And also at the same time, if there are other things that you need help with, like development or even like with admin stuff, selling the personalization to clients, selling them personalized emails, selling them thank you cards, handwritten notes, or scheduling calls or setting appointments or all of these things, it's very easy to find VAs who can spend the whole day just doing it for you. And you just need one client in the whole month to more than cover the cost you're paying them. Like literally between $300 to like somewhere along that hallmark, it's very easy to get skilled specialists. And I will show you how. So, um, these days, I'm currently hiring because after this, I'm building AI apps and platforms that are end to end, just like this model, but they actually help you execute those strategies. So that can like for promotion, they can build ads, landing pages, everything else, email sequences, everything, personalize it to a person's business. They can do the sales training, they can do mock training, there are levels on it, nurture, retention, everything else. So I was looking on understanding how they work and also because I want to be adapt to the future. So there's this group, right, that I have, which is about actually not that. I think I shared this on my Instagram story today. So besides all of this stuff, I'm gonna pause this here. So I don't know if you can see, but I ran these ads and I ran this from the local account of the virtual assistant or the outsourced team member that I have. Um, and the cost per application is it averaged $3.50 per application, right? For the paid ads. And the paid ads were memes and like random stuff that I generated from ChatGPT. I mean, it worked, but it's the same process I just mentioned to you right now. And I mentioned that like I got 50 leads for $1, right? For sourcing overseas talent. Even if yours is $10 or 5 or whatever, it's still much cheaper. And you can get people much faster and you can add more friction, right? And their quality is good as well. So this is like where we have this like hiring system where I'm like looking at all of their CVs over here and like all of these guys and then I can like if I conduct interviews from like these endless CVs and all of these are still sent today because like I'm being forwarded all the CVs of the web developers and the application developers and IT developers who are looking to scale over here. So if I interviewed all of these guys, I am pretty sure I'll find the killers that I'm looking for, regardless of them being overseas or not, just because that's dependent on the talent pool, right? So also with this is version 0.1. So I'm just picking random slides that I'm finding on Canva and more worrying about the quality as opposed to the other way around. Sorry, I had to present the screen. Let's go there. Share the screen, present. Now let's move on to the next one, which is for now nurturing these guys. This is another issue that I have seen happen, which is people get all these leads. I have experienced this in the past because I use the same platform to hire marketing developers and my current team and sales developers and stuff like that. Um, Good talent will get other job offers. and you need to communicate effectively with them, and you need to talk to them to get them to schedule interviews and everything else. You can't just like, and the sooner you contact the person, the same lead nurture principles apply that we covered in the lead nurturing phase, where the sooner you contact a person, the sooner you book in a call with them, the sooner you screen them, the more readily you can get that talent pool. Because if that person is in the market looking for jobs and it's taking you a bloody month for you to decide if you're going to work with them, um, or your comms with them are non-existent, you will lose that talent. Like good people, if they're really skilled, they will have other opportunities too. Like that's just something that happens by default unless you find some unicorn who is really young and hasn't done much. Like this is a pretty easy strategy that you could use. Also, just covering something for that $3, for that 0.02 cent lead cost, the it was like the job offer with the base salary was around $300 Australian dollars, right? And the rest will be dependent on them hitting up performance goals, and I'll give them bonuses and everything else for that. And I literally ran this out as an experiment because the AI system, I'll hire serious developers in the future, but this campaign was just a test, and I was like, I'll just get somebody in through the door to get the momentum going, and I will practice on the first person and make mistakes on the first person so I can learn the skills and then I can hire somebody better. That was my strategy, that I would learn because I'm not experienced in development, which is the other thing you could test. Interview the guys and learn from them that you're interviewing, like about the process. And if they're coming up with ideas and educating you and showing that value during the interview, you will learn more. And also, the other thing, especially with virtual assistants, is if you have never hired for a role, you will likely make mistakes unless you are super experienced. So I am perfectly fine with taking that risk of making a mistake. As a matter of fact, walking in with the expectation that I'll make a mistake, but I will learn from that mistake and correct that in the future, which is why like this is just a very random ad that is crushing, and I would just probably hire somebody from it. Like I'll conduct them, screen them faster, and then move on. Now, moving on to the next one. Three-step interview process. So in this one, I'm going to cover the interview process that I built, that I have used, that works really well, and the idea and the psychology behind it, and why you should use this. Consider this sales, but in the different format. So let's escape this thing and move here. So this is like the script. You should have access to this. It's a three-step process because first thing is you do a quick phone screening. I mean, obviously, after you go through the CVs and you find the ones that look good and you just screen the ones that are not that good. Like, so for example, if I had 200 applications, um, I would just I'd screen through them. I'm assuming probably 60, 70 would be those that I would give a chance. I can go even less if I'm being harsh. But the thing is, in my experience with AI, people are just writing shitty applications or just AI generated applications. Sometimes that while they might seem good, they might not be. So you need to jump on the call and have and gauge them out for yourself. But anyways, so phone screening, 5 minutes to schedule the session, but also ask one or two questions to qualify them, and screen out for weirdos. And I might just like test something um like the same process. This is like an appointment setting call while also disqualifying people. And if you have like some really important disqualification criteria, so for example, in this case, it would be if it's like if you're hiring for a virtual assistant, let's just take it that way, right? You could look for their grip on English, obviously. So if I'm calling the person, I would like one of the first questions I might ask them after, hey, this is Veris reaching out from Starlit Business Scaling, and you applied for the role of being a customer experience um, representative. Just wanted to book in a time that you might have today or tomorrow during which we can have our interview. And also and just ask a few questions right now. Um, if you're okay with that, I should probably add the interview at the end. But anyways, and then I would just ask them about their English skills or something else. If they don't have time, I'll try to schedule another time with them in the same day or tomorrow for the again screening, which is the 5 minute screening. Um, don't take the easy way out of emailing people because on email it's harder to tell, especially now. Talk to them. You'll understand about the person and their feeling when you're talking to them. And if somebody feels negative or if they're too introverted or just their energy isn't there, that would already give you enough idea whether you want to proceed with them or not. And ask the most important questions regarding the role that are instant disqualification ones here. Um, but like just one or two that if they can't even do that, then there's no point in me interviewing this person, right? The later things you can gauge out better during the actual interview. So after the 5 minute screening quick interview, many companies have multiple interviews. This is just the strategy that works well for me. Next one is going to be the main interview, in which I would also ask them questions, qualify them, and then do a mock test. And that interview, I've structured that in a way that if at any point they do disqualify, I would just end the interview there and thank them for their time instead of doing the whole thing, right? And then finally, if they pass that main interview, then we would do an actual interview. We'll do like it's if you're delegating it, the first two can be done by others, and the last one can be done by you, where you can review the recordings and then like the CEO or the owner can do it. Like if you have a larger team, that is. And during this, I would set up the expectations and do everything else. And I am going to mute my WhatsApp. And we are back. So here are some pre-interview guidelines. You're looking for a team for peacetime versus there's like a different CEO for peacetime versus a different CEO for wartime. A different team for maintaining the success, and if that's the goal you have, versus if you want to vigorously grow and expand and break all the limits, and you want to look for tigers and killers in that case, versus in the first one, you want to look for people who are experienced and you can allow them to maintain. So just be aware of that, especially if you're starting out and you want to scale really fast. Um, Obviously, you would prioritize experience and somebody who has done that before, but at the same time, you would probably give more value to their soft skills of ambition and having that hunger and having the ability to handle pressure. Because if you're a new business and you're going through crisis all the time, you would see that. And here's another really good advice that I got from one of the um, podcasts I listened to lately, which was that. You look at people that are at two ends of the spectrum. So either really young, ambitious professionals who are just starting out and they have the hunger and they haven't been tainted by bad experiences and bad teammates and all of those things yet, and they just have the energy and they'd work and make something happen. So you look for people who are young and hungry, or you look for people who are already retired and experienced. Like they've done their work, they have tons of experience, and they've just like now either have like taken a break and you try to get them to reverse their retirement to come in and serve as an over leader and help you with the business and everything else because they would be able to just like point out the flaws that can save you so much money, especially provided that person has scale in your industry. Something definitely worth considering. But anyways, let's come to the pre-interview guidelines for the interview. The purpose of this hiring process. Before conducting the interview, it's crucial to understand why this hiring process is structured this way. We are not looking for just anyone who wants a paycheck. We're looking for people who want to win, people who you can go to war with. Anyone short of that needs to be screened out. Don't settle for, especially if you have a process where you can get so many leads, like what I just showed you earlier. Don't settle for people who are not the ones that you can have your back and you can go to war with and you trust. And they make you feel excited that you want to bring this person on the team because they're that skilled, right? And that's why this process is built that way. It might feel tedious, it might feel like a pain in the ass, but don't forget the person that you would get through this is gonna be worth all of that effort and time because we are looking for unicorns. Like it or hate it, they exist out there. And the one of the biggest differences between really skilled companies and basic ones is the level of talent they have, right? And if you're aiming to build a world-class company, you need to have SEAL Team 6 or like one of the best things. So think of this as special forces job, and this is the screening process for it. We're looking for like Delta Force level candidates. I gave the same example earlier. I will delete this here. Um, just so there is no um, bias against that. But the thing is, you know how difficult it is to become a Navy SEAL, right? You have to go through Hell Week, and at any time, anyone can quit. And like, they push you through the limits, and you have to qualify all of these hurdles and pass all of these difficult levels. And the people who pass that are the ones who are best of the best. Have the same thing process when walking in here when you're hiring people. And again, the thing is, if you can automate this, Obviously be involved yourself, but it's perfectly fine, especially in the future, because I don't want you to compromise on the quality of talent because you don't have the time to interview. Somebody else can conduct that if you can automate the process, if you can structure and strategize the process and train them on it, and then you do the final interview, but still don't settle for less. Anyways, think of this as special forces job. I already covered that. Most candidates will prefer easy jobs with high pay and minimal effort. That's how most people are built. That's exactly why we designed the interview to filter out those who are simply looking for comfort. So if you get a lot of rejections, you would be on the right track. When you tell people the expectations you have, and when you tell them that you're expecting them to perform at their best, and this is an environment for winners, even if that sounds nice on paper, people would still apply because they're looking for a job. But you would find people who reject, and heck, you would have to reject people. And in the beginning, you might feel uncomfortable because you're rejecting all these guys, and you're like, is there something wrong with the interview process? Not. And believe me, you will find winners. And when you do, you would realize it was all worth it, especially if you haven't like conducted or hired people yet. Keep this thing in mind. Um, if you get a lot of rejection, it's fine. Exceptional people are rare. We are looking for the individuals who the interview is not just about technical qualifications. The second thing is actually, I think I deleted this section over here. The interview is not about technical qualifications. It's designed to find those who would do this job for free if they had to, because they're driven by the pursuit or of mastery or have um, faith, goal streams, etc. I don't know what I meant by that, but I'll just put it in another way. Somebody who does sales because it's fun for him, or somebody who loves personal training because they want to be the best personal trainer, or somebody who is like uh want to be the best customer experience manager because they want work to work with people and they believe in the mission and everything else. You want those guys. And that's what I mean by they would do it for free if they like, because this is what they enjoy. This is what their life is structured around. And in the long run, people who are fully ambitious and motivated and love the work would win over the ones who are not as much. And because the energy that it takes to get better at something, these guys would naturally get it, while others would have to force it. Keep that thing in mind, right? Next one, mental preparation before the interview. Avoid bias. Use a scorecard, which you will build based on the things that you are going to rate them on. Um, so avoid personal favoritism or gut feelings. Use a structured approach. Sometimes we spend the first 5 minutes and the person is complimenting us and they're so good and you think, oh, this person is really good. And then you forgot to test their actual skills. So what was the point of the interview anyways, right? So like try to make it transparent. Also, so you can systematize the hiring process and look at where people lack and where they were good. So then when you're reviewing all the applicants that you want to filter out or you want them to move to the next stage later, you can look at the scorecards of each, mark them out of 10 for each straight, record all calls for future review by leadership team to assess your own performance as well, record their own interviews. Some people like see they're following the process, see they're following the script. Especially if you're not doing this yourself. If you're doing this yourself, still record because you'll be able to find patterns and loopholes in what works and what doesn't work. And then you can use those to build SOPs or train your team on. Like they would be able to see examples of like use everything to your advantage, including the bad interviews. And they're like, I'm pretty sure we are advanced enough that we can take those clips out and everything else and give them example. This is what happens like when you don't dig deeper into when a person says that they're a team player and then you take them on face value versus asking them, well, how, like, give me an example of when your team member wasn't performing as good and you had to bring them up to mark. Like, have you faced a scenario like that? Or a scenario where you had to perform like whatever and you dig deeper or you ask them why and stuff and then you realize they didn't do anything. um, Show them that what it looks like in real time, and that is a lot more effective, especially in training or even for yourself, right? Understand the role deeply. You want to be aware of the person you're hiring for, why that's crucial to the business, what is expected for them, and why you're hiring them, right? So before starting, review the job description yourself. Visualize what a top performer in this role would look like. What would a badass marketer look like? What would one of the like an extremely good coach look like? What would an extremely good personal assistant look like? What would an extremely good um depending on the roles, because you guys have different businesses, but you should know like for this person to come in and just succeed and take care of all of these struggles that I might have, or take work off your plate, like what would a winner look like? And then with that image in mind, walk in because that's what you're looking for. Failure traits. So like for example, they have work ethic, they have growth mindset, full-time commitment, things like that, right? Failure traits. What would make somebody fail? Doing multiple jobs just in it for the money, all of those things. What would likely get somebody to fail? What would make them a bad fit? Be clear on those things. Note them down if you have to. Um, we're simply selecting the right people and removing the wrong ones. In the beginning, that's all you have to do. Now, how you ask questions matter more than the questions themselves. This is important because use warm but inviting tone. Many times you go into an interview and you make somebody nervous and they don't reveal everything to you, and then you can't screen them better. So those of you that are worried about missing out on potential candidates, especially on like roles that are not front facing, where people are not sometimes that good at interviewing itself or things like that, or communicating effectively, instead of me coming in and panicking the person out. And some people take pride in that. I had, I clearly remember this shit, which was that in the previous role or workplace that I was working, we were sitting in a round table, and one of my colleagues mentioned that in his previous job, we used to make people cry. And he was like, that's how strict our interview process was, that we would, you know, see if they're worth it, and we would give them all these difficult tasks. And I just realized, what's the point of that? What are you optimizing for? Like scaring, like seriously, if the goal is to hire the best candidates, you don't need to intimidate them, right? Like whatever ego or things that is being satisfied here, don't end up like that, right? And again, that's the other thing as well. Hard skills versus soft skills, and I'll get to that in a second, but simply someone having experience doesn't guarantee that they're going to be a successful fit and help you get your dream. Because there are people who are good at growth and there are experienced people who are complacent. And somebody who's growth minded and extremely fast learner and can develop the skills, and even if he's not experienced, would beat the person who is experienced who is complacent 9 times out of 10, because he would catch up to them. And then every year after that, every month after that, the improvement and the growth of the hungry guy would compound. So it's like, even if in the beginning two are like this, but while this person is going, or while this person is staying here, this is the experienced guy. The not as experienced but high growth guy is like this. And so he's like this, and this person is going here, and then this would just offshoot. Anyways, moving on. Use warm but inviting tone, like you care about them. Get them to open up, even if you don't mean it. Same with sales. You don't want to overwhelm them. You want them, heck, trap them. They won't open up. They won't tell you that they're horrible. If you're being really strict, ask deep questions that peel the onion layer by layer. Don't take surface level answers. I mentioned this earlier. Everybody would tell you their best bits and just praise themselves to the moon and try to act really good. You know, don't take the CV for surface value. Don't take the first video even for surface value. Don't take it as surface value. Like, dig deeper. Ask them why. Ask them how. Ask them for examples for the traits that are especially crucial for success in the industry, and you would realize how good this person really is, right? Give real life examples to help them relate with questions. So, for example, if somebody can't understand, you can give them an example. Well, for example, so let's say the question is, why is this role important to you? And I was like, and give them direction so they don't just go off a tangent. So I could say, for example, I had for me personally, the reason why I love coaching is because I really want to transform people's lives. And when I was growing up, I had a father figure who showed me how to lift weights, and that person ended up changing my life completely, because going to the gym helped me not do all the other shit that I could have gotten myself into, which is why I want to be able to transfer that onto others. Do you have something like that? Or like I can just give them an example and get them to see through your lens and open up. Um, be wary if they answer everything else but the main question or change topic. This would happen. You ask them about their team building skills, and they start talking about this thing they ran, and then instead of talking about the actual team building skills, they're like, "Oh, it was so difficult. We had to do all of these different things." Like, they're not talking about the actual strategy. They're talking about things around it and changing the topic and doing all that. That means the person is beating around the bush. They don't know what they're talking about, and you have to control the conversation. And you can gently do that. Hey, would love to hear about that later, but like right now, because we are short on time, let's come back to the specifics. Building trust is essential. If the candidate doesn't trust you, they won't give you a real answer, especially deep and personal questions. Share some of your own challenges to make the conversation feel authentic. This invites them to drop their defenses and open up. If we intimidate them, they won't answer honestly, leading to potential losses. Everyone will have a weakness. We just need to identify the ones we can survive with. Everybody's going to have flaws. Everybody will have, nobody's perfect. You just need to pick the problems that you can survive with, right? If the person is extremely skilled and extremely ambitious, but they're not as good with the way they dress, that's fine. People will have areas where by default were affected because they were good at something else, right? And you just need to pick the ones that you're fine with. Understanding the problem you're trying to solve, use it to filter answers before the interview. Clearly define what problems we need this hire to solve for us. If you're getting a coach, I need this coach to take all of these coaching clients off my plate that I have that I'm working with right now. Or I need this guy to check in with clients on a regular basis so that our retention increases. Like clearly define them why you're hiring them. And this helps us achieve whatever goals and target you've set for yourself. Example, if we need someone who can jump in and start selling fast, we need to assess if they thrive in high pressure, fast paced environment, and we need to communicate that with them, right? If you're hiring somebody who, for example, like you have the coach example earlier, the skills they would have is going to be the ability to communicate with people, the ability to be disciplined and text them regularly, the ability to um like just be not, like all of those things and just have that in mind as you're approaching it. How this person will contribute to the company's mission and growth. Be clear on that. Are they aligned on your vision and values, or are they just here for the paycheck? Mentioned this earlier. Don't hire people that are just in for the paycheck, no matter how desperate you are. Um, or get a virtual assistant so that you can hire, like, get them to leave later when you hire a skilled person. Sometimes, if you're having a hard time finding the right talent, again, I prioritize time value over, like, imperfect action is better than perfect because perfect, you don't know what it looks like right now. Same example I mentioned earlier, I am not as skilled enough right now to know what a good developer looks like, which is why I'm perfectly going in and open-minded enough that I'll try my best, but I will also probably learn a bunch of things and then I can use that to build on top of it. Okay, candidate interview scorecard. There are two things you need to look for. Um, yeah, I mentioned this earlier. We will assess most important hard skills and soft skills. Hard skills are practical skills like marketing, sales, funnel building, coaching, blah, 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 right? So the skills that they would actually be delivering on. So if you're hiring like a personal trainer, their hard skills should be their ability to know nutrition, their ability to know fitness and workouts, and knowing their way around the gym and all of those things. If you're hiring a coach, it would be different, like the ability to coach and communicate with people and train people and all of those things, right? So these are like hard skills. Then there are soft skills that are more character traits like desire to learn, hard work, ambition, adaptability, coachability, things like that. And you want to rank people on their hard skills and soft skills and equal, and both are equally important. Okay, so anyways, moving on to that. This is an example of candidate scorecard. You can just change this to whatever your requirements are. I just made this when I was hiring like a sales marketer guy, and I just made this in a rush. So hard skills, they need to know English, virtual assistant for customer experience, technical knowledge, industry experience, work ethic, task evaluation. Why is work ethic here? Anyways, adaptability, coachability, performance. I think we mixed the two up, but you get the point. Uh, yeah. Anyways, moving on to the next one. Section two, the actual interview process. Step one, establish comfort and authority. Make them feel comfortable. Start with a joke, or just like sales, um, or make a comment on them, or make a personal answer or something like that. The weather was really horrible today. Then build authority. Briefly introduce yourself, but do so in a way that makes you relatable while also establishing authority. So it's like I've been in this industry for 10 years. I've been an online fitness coach for 10 years, and I started from your background. I know exactly how challenging it is to find the right um, fit for a fast-moving company like ours, but I've also seen in that when you find the right people, people who are serious about growth, their careers take off, and that's what we are looking for here. I'll make a better version of this. I've been an online coach before. I know all the struggles that come with it, but also the difference being in a right work environment can make. And despite all the skills, and all the things we need to know, it's an ever evolving industry. So I'll probably, and then you can just lead them into the actual conversation. So reframing. So for this interview, there are no right or wrong answers. You say that stop being worried about it. We are looking for honesty. My job is to ask you a few questions, and if we see a strong fit, we'll move you forward to the next stage of the interview process, where the CEO will interview you and set a time for it. I pre-frame them on what's going to happen next. Um, if you're the CEO, just skip this part. And uh, set traps. Like you can set traps here where you can get them to say things that they normally wouldn't reveal, which would help us disqualify them if they have those hidden things. This is the first step about seeing if you have the core qualifications and whether you'd be a good fit. It'll take 15 to 20 minutes. This might probably take longer than 15 to 20 minutes, especially I think it would you could do this in 15 to 20 and then do the actual um, skill assessment and mock assessment later. But anyways, so non-negotiable screening questions, the must-haves. So you can quickly disqualify the ineligible candidates and end the interview. So I know we asked screening questions before. You can do another round of screenings. So the most important things that are required here, ask them first. So in my case, I just do English proficiency, right? This role requires strong communication skills in English, as you'll be writing, crafting, sending emails and messages with foreign clients just to check. Can you tell me about something interesting you recently read or watched? Maybe a book, a movie, or even an article you found meaningful, and answer it in English. By answering it in English, I mean I want them to tell me and communicate that with me on the interview verbally, right? Why we test their ability to speak fluently and articulate thoughts clearly. I'm giving them a task instead of just relying on him telling me that. And this is the point where I have disqualified so many clients, I'll be honest here. Everybody tells me their English skills are good and proficient and fluent, and then I ask them to speak with me in it, and they're just like, it's horrible and like really weird. Instead of directly asking, do you speak English well, which people will always say yes to, we observe their actual communication in a relaxed way. Green flags, clear structured thoughts, no struggling to form and red flags, what they look like, right? Um, Now for here, I took ChatGPT's help, I'll be honest, to make a list of things for every single skill set that are going to be green flags and red flags, right? Obviously, I already had some idea, but this also gave me further understanding. So definitely you can do the same thing if you want. Commitment and availability. That's the other thing. I wanted people who are working me for full time. So this role requires 8 hours daily right now. What does your daily schedule look like? Are there any personal or professional commitments that would take up your time? Side jobs. If they hesitate or says that they're working multiple jobs, completely understand. People have different responsibility. However, this role requires for commitment. If you had to choose between this job and something else, which one would be your priority and why? And if they say current job, thank you for the interview. I entered there. I don't need to waste time on them. Or I might just ask them a few technical questions just to gauge their skill set out. If even on a part-time basis, this person is worth it. But or if they're really good, can I steal them? But yeah, if they have multiple jobs, they will lack focus and fail in this role. Hence, we disqualify if they can't shift to this role full time or can only do 4 or 5 hours after their main job. Their energy is going to be horrible. Everything is going to be horrible. I've hired people who are doing something else in the morning and then working with me in the evening, and like they were out of energy because all works are demanding, right? Job history and red flags. Why did they leave their last job? Um, Complaining, blame shifting, toxic behavior. This is where I will do a drama and culture fit check. If this person is complaining or something like that, that shows me this is not the right fit, right? Logistics and availability. If you get this role, by what date can you start, or will you need to give a notice for your previous employer? Refuse if they still have 3, 4 months remaining. I'm like, it will take me 3 months. I'm like, I'll reach out to you again in 3 months. Step four, confirming work experience and skill proficiency. So they are not lying and actually are skilled. So we are gonna ask them questions on the hard skills and the soft skills. Now I'm not gonna go over them, or actually I might. This is just a sample interview anyways. You're gonna adjust the script based on your role, what its requirements are, what the hard and soft skills are, and everything else. On your resume, it says you worked at X company before you did. We wish to understand like if you worked just so it will align with ours. Walk me through your typical workday from morning to end. Like, what did you do? And this forces them to prove their experience instead of just listing it on a resume. Many people would write things they didn't actually do or didn't do it in depth, where like they would present it as being such a grandeur action they were taking when in reality it wasn't that good, right? This is where I would like, and it would also reveal their work ethic. If they liked working there, they would literally list everything in detail. I started at 5. The first thing I did was plan out the day. Then we would do like call all the pending leads and schedule appointments with them. Then I would have meetings with prospects where I would sell them. And then we would have our team huddle. And then we would have a lunch break. And then we'd report the boss. Like if they're able to like specify everything, that's better. If they give me like a really random answer, it shows either it's a red flag, did this person work, how well it worked, I need to scratch deeper. Otherwise, yeah. Keep peeling the onion. Ask deeper questions. What sort of emails did you send? What do you do in that task? If they're giving you surface level answers, like if they say I made calls, it'd be like, what sort of calls did you make? Green flags can clearly describe their roles and responsibilities. Red flags, vague and clear, blah, blah, blah. Again, we are interviewing for the best of the best, but have a comforting tone, right? Like be playful or be nice. You don't actually have to be nice. You just need to seem nice. So the other person feels relaxed around you and they can give you the real answers. Initiative and learning. This is something that was important to me. I like people who learn a lot. So if I see that you've worked on a specific task, what strategies did you use there? Or how did you improve your over time? Like I want to learn if they implemented the things they learned and grew with it, right? Based on their CV or resume. Um, what mistakes you made in the early stages of the role, how did you correct it? Again, gives me an idea that they knew about the weakness and they were actively working on it. Why test their test if they're actively improving themselves or just do the bare minimum? If someone can't name a single mistake they've learned from, it's a red flag. They might be unaware of their own shortcomings, right? Green flags shows learning progression, self-improvement. Red flags struggle to explain their past mistakes and improvement, meaning they just wrote on the resume, I love to learn and read books. And if I ask them, they tell me the same thing, and then I ask them to explain me shit. And they have no idea. And here's a quick coachability test. I learned this from the book, which was like the sales acceleration formula from Mark Roberge, who Bill, who was like one of the, I think, sales directors or managers of HubSpot. But anyway, so within that, he mentioned that based on the answers, make a recommendation. For example, in our experience, we have noticed that people, that ads with this problem solution style opening perform better. If you were to apply that, what would the new email look like? Like, I would give them a feedback on the task and ask them to implement it. And over here, I'm not looking them to get it right. I'm looking for their willingness to apply it, as well as their ability to give me a new response and how well they can articulate that. I know it's under pressure question, but that's the point. And if they can very easily get feedback from what I recommended and implement it right away, it means this person is high in coachability. And that's one of the more important tasks we need to look for, right? See if they can comprehend what you said and give you a proper answer. Assess other important skills based on your judgment. You have most of you, depending on the role, would have different hard skills and different soft skills, right? Step three, the 3 or 5 important core qualities we look for and test if we are on the same page, soft skills. So teamwork. Can they function well in the team? So how do you feel about working with a team? Have you ever been part of a high-performing team before? Right? If they say, yes, I was like part of this amazing team and we did all of this stuff, they'll be like, perfect. What role did you play? How did you contribute to the team's success? I can bet you on this that I've had people who have said they're good at team work and everything else, and they write that on their resume, and then I ask them about what they did, and they did nothing, or they had no idea, or their teamwork was like working in an office with 7 people, um, who were doing separate tasks. Success is never achieved alone. We need people who understand how to work in a team. Even if they haven't led a team before, how they describe their role will tell us a lot about their teamwork skills, right? Green flags talks about collaborating, supporting others, leading a group, blah, blah, blah. Expresses appreciation for teamwork. Red flags say they prefer working alone, all of those things. Blames bad managers, blames others. Thus, opposite of teamwork. Because when you're running a team, a mistake of a one person is a mistake of everyone else. Keep that in mind. Okay, next one. Our company is filled with people who are obsessed with learning and improving themselves. Do you personally enjoy learning new skills? Okay. Have you read a book, taken a course, followed someone like Gary Vee or whoever in the field? If so, what's one of the biggest lessons you learned from them? Like, I would try to ask them questions if they like to learn and develop new skills, right? I think the previous one was implementation related, where how well they can implement the things they're learning. Um, this one is just more about the desire. I think I might have repeated this, but doesn't matter. You get the general idea. Um, so they mention the things they're learning, they're following, they try to encourage on it, they talk about it. That's just a soft skill that I provide because I want people who are always learning, always growing, always trying to be better. That's the value that I prefer in my team. You guys can add your own core skills and core values and qualify people based on that. Hard work and resilience, special forces frame. This role can be intense, and at times there will be days when you're under pressure and you have to push yourself. Can you tell me about a time when you worked hard or something, or you barely slept or gave it everything you have? Or are you comfortable with doing something like that? And if they say yes, then I can follow up with the other thing, right? So, like, this is a core requirement, especially for startups, especially if your business is growing. You would have unexpected and unpredictable problems coming in all the time. And you want people from the get-go who are comfortable or who at least have the expectation that not on a regular basis, but whenever something goes wrong, they would be expected to go the extra mile, right? And if that feels extreme or that feels whatever work-life balance is, we don't need people who want a work-life balance. We just want people who can help us make our dream happen. And I know, and I pay them overtime and all that stuff. That's fine. But like the willingness to do that is important here. Or even in working in high pressure situations where they made a mistake or where something went wrong and we have a KPI that we need to hit because the survival is dependent on it. Right? This is where you can test those things. Gives a real story above with the way they went above and beyond, shows pride in working hard. Red flags, whatever random answers they give. Force to interview process. So here you can give them, you can get them to give you a demo. Right? So this is the place where whatever role you're hiring for, now do a role play or a mock session with them or get them to actually apply it. I would normally just 3 to 5 hard skills, 3 to 5 soft skills that are the most important. And then I would do this demo session with them. So if they're marketing, I'd get them to build a funnel. I get them to build ad copies. If it's sales, I'll get them to try to sell me on a product. I'll provide them info, or I'll give them a list of prospects and get them to call them and book in appointments and see how well they do, right? If it's customer service, I'd give them a situation of me being an angry customer and they need to handle that just to see how well they can actually perform. And this is like the practical implementation. And provided you've made them comfortable and everything else, and you tell them there's no right or wrong, I just want to, like, we're just gonna assess how well we can do it. And based on your performance, they'll provide you feedback, which is the other thing. After they've done, you can provide them feedback again and then test their coachability again, right? So, anyways, um, yeah, step seven, closing the interview and assess any weaknesses. Be vulnerable to talk to trap them. When I started this role in my early days, I was not good at taking pressure and had family issues going on. Over time, I resolved it, but I also want to ask you so we can be sure that we complement each other. First, you trap them by revealing that you were horrible in the beginning, right? And then you put it on them instead of just asking, do you have any weaknesses? And people give bullshit answers here. Like, my biggest weakness is my intolerable thirst for personal progress that I always want to be better, whatever random ass stuff. So over here, I could ask them, tell them about myself, then be like, are there any issues or weaknesses that you have that you're struggling with? So we know that we relate or something like that. And this could reveal the hidden problems they have. And then finally, do you have any questions for me? We're not asking them so they have questions. Like, we want to see, did this person do their homework? Did they learn about the company? Are they um, interested, or if they're just asking about the pay or something like that, or bonuses, then that feels a bit weird. But if they're asking about how the ways they can improve the job or something that is more growth oriented or coming up with advice and suggestions and stuff like that, that's the green flag you're looking for, right? Final thoughts. This is more than just an interview. It's a filtering process for winners. We're gonna delete this hyphen. End of interview two. So the next thing after this you do this is you do an interview with the CEO or the main decision maker. In that one, you set the expectations, you tell them about the culture, what the experience would be like, what would be demanded of them. I haven't made a script for it because if I did, it would take a lot longer, but just the general framework is that you, during that interview, you can be upfront with them and you can set the expectations of what working in the company is like, what their role is going to look like, what they're going to be doing through day to day, and if they're fine with that, as well as the company's values, the mission, and why that is important to us, and giving them the backstory, selling them on the vision, and empowering them and everything else, and then seeing that they're the right fit. Do a test for that. And normally the CEO does that, so they do that, and then you can just move on to either call their references at the end of interview two before signing up, um, and then give them the offer letter, and then we move on to offboarding, right? Okay, I know this video is slightly long, but I'm trying to cover the people skills that you would need when it comes to running a team here. So you should have access to the script. You can use it. Now let's present the screen again. Present and move on to the next one. So now let's move on to onboarding. I wonder if I should separate this video into two sections. Yeah, let's do that because I think the interview process took longer than expected.